Hi everyone, Christina here with Soma Yoga and Wellness. This free talk is all about managing holiday stress using Ayurveda and yoga. Um, we did the call last night, and it was great to connect with everyone. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a snafu with the recording, so I thought that I would just kind of briefly recap what we talked about and some of the tips that I presented in the talk yesterday. Um, the holiday season is just about here. We're at November 25th now, and you might find that your stress levels are rising. And if you are finding that, Ayurveda and yoga really can help boost and give you some tools to, manage your stress. Both during the holiday season, but also beyond. So in this hour, or in this talk anyway, we're going to really talk a little bit about stress, and specifically holiday stress, but also the consequences of stress. And also I'm going to really dig into, and the focus of the conversation is going to be on practical tools and techniques that you can use today and beyond to help you manage your stress so that you don't end up feeling drained and depleted. And move forward into the new year with lots of energy and feeling great. And so in the talk, I kind of pulled everyone to find out why they're here. And, that's to allow me to make the talk as useful as possible. I want you to just pause for a moment and think about why you are here. What interested you in the free talk? What piqued your interest? So just take a moment to think about that. And I think that's helpful, even if you're watching this, as a recording, to just kind of ground in why you're here, what you're feeling, so that you can take away what you need from this free talk so that it's most beneficial to you. Okay, moving on to stress and how stressed you are. So really, according to Healthline, what is stress? Stress is defined as a state of mental or emotional strain caused by adverse circumstances. And so really, what does that mean? As human beings, we're lucky in that we have rational thought and we can make judgments about things. And so really what it comes down to is what we perceive as a negative or an adverse circumstance is what causes stress for us. What that also means is that it can be highly personal. So what I might find as very stressful, someone else may enjoy, and it may not cause stress for them. So that's something to be in mind. So this is where yoga and Ayurveda have a wealth of information. So at one point or another, most people do or have dealt with feelings of stress, or are currently. And in fact, a study found that 33% of adults reported experiencing high levels of stress, of perceived stress. So that's 1 in 3 people. So it's no joking matter. And if you're one of them, and chances are you are, Ayurveda really offers, as I said before, a beautiful perspective on how to manage your stress. In order to better understand it, we'll first explore the potential consequences of excess stress, because that's really what we're talking about here. And that will provide us with a contextual understanding of the human stress response and why we need to pay attention to it. So who is this talk for? If you're going into the holidays and you're worried about feeling depleted, or if you're already experiencing stress, feeling anxious, or feeling kind of down, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're finding that you're irritable, or your mood is, changing, or you're feeling sad, if you want to feel better, if you want to sleep better, but you're struggling with finding ways to incorporate healthy habits into your daily life, this talk is for you. If you don't want to do the simple work to make change, this talk isn't going to be as beneficial for you, because you do have to do the work to make the change. It doesn't have to be an inordinate amount of work, but all good things in life, they do require some sort of investment in yourself and work. So I hope that you'll join me in starting to manage that. So let's talk about the consequences of excess stress. So One in three, 33% of people have experienced excess stress, like high degrees. And when we're suffering from excess stress, many systems in the body can be negatively affected. So the digestive system, it can lead to digestive disorders, irritable bowel syndrome, and upset stomach. And metabolic function, so imbalances in body weight, in energy levels. It can affect the cardiovascular system, so increasing your heart rate, increasing your risk of stroke, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, all of those terrible things. It affects your reproductive system, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system. So when you perceive stress, your body doesn't know the difference between mental stress and a large animal running at you. And what happens is your body sends blood to your limbs so that you're able to either flee, run away from the risk, or fight if you need to. And so it affects the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system, the reproductive system, and your immune system. So, you might experience decreased energy levels, decreased mood, decreased appetite, maybe increased weight gain. The bottom line, it impacts basically every aspect of our bodies, and it's a contributing factor in a variety of different ailments, and its influence is often overlooked. So the bottom line really is that if you know that you're stressed, even occasionally, there's a good chance that making some supportive adjustments could benefit you immensely. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. Okay, so who am I? My name is Christina, and so my background, what I studied in school was psychology and neuroscience. I'm also a certified yoga and meditation teacher and Ayurvedic health coach. But, previously I was a consultant in the cultural sector. This job was wonderful, but it required a lot of travel, a lot of stress, a lot of deadlines, long hours. And, when I was younger and started out, I loved the job. I loved the changeability and the constantly, working to deadlines and pressure and travel, and it was wonderful. This started to kind of take its toll once I had my daughter. And about 2 years after my daughter was born, I learned that I had an autoimmune disorder. So that attacks my thyroid. The thyroid is an organ that lives right around your throat here. It's like a butterfly shape, and it affects thyroid hormone affects every aspect of your body and your life. And I was noticing that I was having sleeping issues. My skin was getting really dry, creaking joints, really low energy, and often an unbalanced mood. And I would say this was ongoing for like about 10 years. So this was diagnosed, like I said, about 2 years after my daughter was born, and it was Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune disorder. But it was actually identified by a naturopathic doctor probably about 10 years before. I wasn't at that point, but if I had paid attention to the signs and managed my stress, this could have been preventable. Around the point when I was diagnosed, or shortly after, a few years after, I took a week off to go on a meditation retreat. And what's really funny about that is I was still in this stressful job, and I booked it in between studying for my latest certification and a business trip to China. And I sandwiched in this little 1 week kind of blissful retreat in a monastery where, the monks cooked food lovingly by hand, and we had all sorts of time to meditate and practice yoga and be mindful, and just kind of pause. And, I was still studying for the exam, and people said to me, "You're missing out on things." And so I did slow down. What was really interesting was when I came back to my regular life and regular stressors, they had to reduce my medication. And this went on for a year, where it really did start to kind of kickstart my health habits. And it made me pause. It made me pause in that just 1 week, made such a significant improvement in my health. how quickly, and this is someone who I was practicing yoga, I was eating for the most part a pretty healthy diet, and I still found that just taking this time to pause and really listen to what I needed made such a direct impact. So that was turning point in my life. And since then, 5 years later, I've lost something like 30 pounds. I've regained my energy. My skin is cleared. My mood is more balanced, and I sleep better, like completely through the night. And this is all due to kind of, practicing yoga, paying attention to, the rhythms of nature and incorporating Ayurvedic elements into my diet. So it's been kind of a transformational journey for me that continues. Okay, so I want to talk about the mechanisms of stress. So the human stress response it's an evolutionary adaptation that has helped us as humans cope with moments of crisis through the ages. So, it occurs in response to danger in any form, whether it's a natural disaster, a war, an emotional loss that is devastating, or an encounter with a powerful predator, right? It can be any of those things. In the face of a perceived threat, what happens is the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, floods the body with stress hormones. So cortisol is the primary player. You've probably heard of this. So there is an alarm, stress hormones are flooded through the body, and body-wide changes occur. Okay, so this is called, this cascade of events is known as the fight or flight response. Hormones can travel anywhere in the body, and so the effects of cortisol are felt virtually everywhere. And what happens is that the body's resources are reallocated. So it makes energy available to the brain and to the large muscle groups. Okay, so blood is sent to the large muscle groups, it's sent to the brain. And the point is to accelerate speed and response time so that you can fight, you can flee, you can think on your feet, and you're able to respond in the most appropriate way to that threat, which is wonderful. And we need that response. But at the same time, it also decreases other things because the resources are reallocated. So urine production is decreased. Inflammation is inhibited. The digestive system is slowed down, and the immune response is stifled. Okay, so these physiological changes are, really helping us to survive the crisis at hand. And it serves us really well. So as long as the crisis is followed by a period of rest, recovery, and recuperation, which has generally been the case throughout evolutionary history. Okay, so it's a beautiful system. Now, let's meet the modern world. Evolutionary biology meets modern life, and what happens is, in a very short period of time, in terms of evolution anyway, our stressors have transformed and multiplied. They're everywhere. So from a hectic morning with your kids, traffic on the way to work, encounters with road rage, an irate boss, time-sensitive deadlines, long hours, bills piling up, on and on and on, including the holidays. So these stressors are coming at us in multiple forms. And it's, important to note that the stress hormones can't be turned off. So after a long stressful event is over, the stress hormones are still in the body and they linger in our system. And so it keeps our tissues bathed in these hormones, which makes us more sensitive to additional stressors. So we become hypervigilant, right? We're ever more likely to trigger that fight or flight response, even when we're faced with minor stressors, like a stressful email. And the body doesn't differentiate between a stressful email and a boss yelling at us or a dangerous, near fatal accident with the car. It sees stress as stress, and that's it. It doesn't differentiate. So it becomes this vicious, chronic stress loop. Right? We have this stressor, there's panic, you have an ingrained response, and then it goes around in a circle. So it puts our body in a really difficult situation. On the one hand, we're at the mercy of these stressors, but there's also very little chance to recover, to reset and regain balance. And we're essentially, always on high alert, which then actually makes us more susceptible. And then of course there's the idea that we view stress in itself as a problem, and that can become a stressor as well. So that intensifies it. So really it's trying to understand our relationship with stress according to Ayurveda, and thinking about how it would have worked in nature. You would have had a perceived stressor, you would have somehow navigated that situation, and then there is a period of kind of recovery. And that kind of goes with everything, right? There's always the ebbs and flows in terms of life. You think about the waves, there's the high wave, and then there's the retreat. There's the night and there's the day. There's the in and the out. So it's the pulsation of life. So we do need to have stress. We do need to be able to respond to stressors. We also need recovery. So what are some things you can do? Ayurveda has beautiful suggestions for what we can do to become more resilient so that we have those periods of recovery. And so one of the first tools any Ayurvedic practitioner will tell you is to develop a daily routine. In Sanskrit, it's called dinacharya. So developing a healthy lifestyle routine before the holidays hit and sticking to it as you head into the new year is like the best thing you can do, because nothing creates more stress than an erratic routine, right? When you don't know what's going to be happening next, that is very stressful. When there's certainty, there's less anxiety, and Ayurveda recommends a daily routine for everyone. But it's particularly essential when we're trying to balance excess stress. So our physiology is very much adapted to and supported by some sense of regularity. Okay, so that's the first thing. So at minimum, even a modest amount of routine. So it doesn't have to be everything routine, but waking up and going to bed at the same time is going to be really, really beneficial for training your body when to go to sleep, being able to relax, and getting up. Having your meals at the same time, another really great tip for kind of having regularity, because then your body can digest. It knows when to expect the food, and it can gear up to properly digest that food. And then setting time for something like walk or yoga is another thing. So that's some slow methodological exercise, nothing too crazy. It will soothe your nervous system, right? So just kind of a pre-bedtime walk, just kind of going slowly, engaging in mindfulness will really help. And so my suggestion is really going for a walk at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. Choose what works for you, but ideally following a daily routine and going to bed and getting up at the same time, eating meals at the same time is kind of the biggest tip that I have. Second one is spending time in nature. And this is so, so, so important. I mean, countless studies show that spending time in green spaces, such as forests, they reduce stress, blood pressure, lower heart rate, muscle tension becomes less, and the level of stress hormones decreases when we're in a natural setting. It's kind of amazing, right? And from an Ayurvedic, perspective, spending time in nature is a balm for our nervous system. On a mental level, it quiets the mind and just produces a feeling of serenity and truth, right? So rather than agitation and disturbance, we're kind of more relaxed, we're more quiet, maybe a little bit more introspective. And so kind of just going for a walk in nature, great. If you're not able to go for a hike in, a forest, even just going for a walk around the block, paying attention to the green spaces, walking through the park, noticing the flowers, simply taking in a gorgeous view, breathing in the smells of this time of year, taking in the sights, and just noticing, what you connect with is really worth pursuing. Exercising in moderation. Now, I'm a big supporter of exercise. I think it's really important. We need to get daily exercise. But if you're suffering from stress, I suggest resisting the urge to do a lot of really high intensity exercises because it exacerbates that movement. If you think about stress has the quality of kind of motion, of disturbance, of agitation. And so then when you add in a really kind of powerful running routine or aerobics, this can further aggravate that. So as long as you're balancing, so it's not to say that you don't want to do that. You know, exercise is panacea for improved health when it's engaged appropriately. You want to have the balance. You want to make sure that you're incorporating slower practices like walking, like maybe doing some yoga, maybe doing some gentle stretching, you know, anything that's kind of a little bit less active, but still movement. Balancing that with the more active is really important. If you're not exercising though, a supportive exercise program, you know, it doesn't have to be complex or time intensive. A 20-minute walk, maybe kind of getting your heart rate up, is definitely helpful for the entire body, mind, and spirit. Okay. Practicing Nadi Shodhana. So Nadi Shodhana is alternate nostril breathing, and it's a really deeply calming form of pranayama, which is controlled breath work that balances the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So breathing, you know, deactivates the sympathetic nervous system. If you recall, that's the fight or flight, and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system, the part of the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, that is rest and digest. And when we're in a period of stress, that's when we want to start to activate. So this is a great, great practice to do. I'll take us through just a brief example. We did that in the class, but you basically take your pointer finger and your middle finger and place them between your eyebrows. We use the fourth finger and the thumb, and you alternately close the nostrils and breathe through them. So we always start with the left nostril, so close the right and inhale. Close the left, open the right, exhale. Inhale through the right. Switch, exhale left. Inhale left. Switch, exhale left. Inhale right. Exhale left. And release. So that was just a few rounds of Nadi Shodhana. Now you can do up to 10. So inhaling left, exhale right, inhale right, exhale left. That's one round. If you do say 5 or 10 periodically through the day, before bed, it's wonderful. Prana, the vital breath, is the subtle essence of life force, and it animates each of us. And when we breathe and we take the time to really breathe in, it infuses every cell and every tissue in our body with oxygen that's carried on and you know, basically restoring fluidity and vitality to the entire body. It bathes our tissues in prana, you know, and really helpful. It's helpful for clearing tension. The yogis say that the mind is the master of the body, but the breath is the master of the mind. So if you want to make changes, change your breath, and that will help to change your mind, which will then change your actions. It's quite beautiful when you think about it. Okay, so that's the next tip. Moving along, eating in a loving, relaxed environment. I love this one so much. So the kind of company we keep and the conversations we have, you know, I think this isn't, you know, rocket science, but it, you know, during meals, it can positively or negatively affect our ability to digest and assimilate our meal. Think about it. If you're eating with people who are angry or you're in a tense environment, you're feeling stress, then, you know, the blood is rushing away from your digestive system, which we've learned. And so you're not able to digest your food properly because you're in this stressed environment. So taking the time to just kind of practice, you know, slow breathing, calming the body, having, you know, connecting conversations, and just really noticing the food is going to make a really, it's going to actually really help to reduce your stress, and your stomach and your spirit will really thank you for that. Give yourself an Ayurvedic oil massage. So in Sanskrit, This is called abhyanga, oil massage. And so when you massage yourself with warm herbalized oil, it doesn't have to be herbalized, but oil, it's a phenomenal way to soothe your nervous system and ground any kind of stress, any kind of agitation that you have. It both nourishes your skin and moisturizes it. And, is particularly in this cold season. And it facilitates the release of oxytocin. So that action of rubbing yourself with oil releases this feel good hormone, and it can actually lift your mood. You don't have to go to a spa and spend hundreds of dollars. You can just get a bit of oil from, I use almond oil. I use pure almond oil. You can also use sesame oil, and you just rub it in circles around the joints and longwise on the long bones, and you just kind of rub your whole body. I actually do it in the shower, and then I just kind of rinse off. I don't soap off. And this, like I said, calms the nervous system. It lubricates and rejuvenates the tissues, and it promotes healthy circulation throughout your entire body. So, there's no, it's not an accident or a coincidence that the Sanskrit word for oil, sneha, also means love. So when you take the time to practice loving self-care by rubbing some oil on your body, you start to notice both physical changes. You start to notice an appreciation for your body and all that it's doing for you. You're taking the time to care for it. And you're also you start to slow down, and it can really buffer the nervous system against stress and agitation. So something through the holidays, if you can start to rub your body with some oil, a wonderful practice to reduce stress. We need detox before the holidays. So our digestive fire is going to take a lot of toll, right? As we go through the holidays, eating heavy meals, eating often. So maybe if you can take a few days, so maybe doing a gentle 3-day cleanse with khichdi. Khichdi is a simple diet of cooked mung beans and rice and maybe some vegetables, but you can also just have cooked whole grains and vegetables, and just steer clear of wheat, meat, dairy, and sugar for a few days, maybe 3 days, or however long you want your cleanse to last. You can incorporate some good fats, so some good ghee and some good oils. That's wonderful. And just think of it as a mini vacation for your digestive system. There is a second brain in our gut. Many of you have probably heard of it, and it can direct our mood and our feelings and our brain into action. So we want to take care of our gut. So giving it a chance to just have a vacation before the holidays is a wonderful practice for preparing before this busy season. Take a meditation break. So meditation is different for everyone. So you need to choose one that fits for you. You could, if you practice yoga, or even if you don't, you could lie on the ground and take a 5-minute shavasana and just turn your palms up, take your arms about 45 degrees away from your body and just lay there and breathe. You could enjoy a 10-minute yoga nidra, yogic sleep practice. That's a guided meditation. You can look that up on the internet, yoga nidra, Nidra. Or you could do a deep breathing exercise, something like Nadi Shodhana that we did last time. Whatever you choose to do, focus on being in the present, being aware of your body, of your surroundings, of your breath. Don't force your breath, just let it flow, and be an observer for a while. Let your lungs open up and just breathe deeply without any rush. Deep diaphragmatic breathing actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which counters the fight or flight response. So it puts us in a rest and digest mode, and it starts to slow the heart rate down, and it allows you to feel more calm, more at rest. And so the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh in his monasteries, he actually has every 20 minutes a bell rings where all of the monks and anyone visiting to the monastery pauses and takes 3 deep breaths, and they just pause and they come back to the present moment. So this is something we can take and adapt into our daily lives as a practice. Anytime you hear the ding of your cell phone or an email, or if you're walking on the street and you hear a car horn honking or anything that resembles a bell, I invite you to take that as an opportunity to just take 3 deep breaths, come back into the present moment, just for a moment, and then you can move on. And you'll find that as you start to incorporate these short meditation breaks into your day, it will do wonders for your nervous system, for even just kind of reminding yourself to be aware and to come back into the now, which ultimately will calm and soothe your nervous system. Okay, my last tip for today is to take a ginger bath. So ginger is naturally detoxifying, and it promotes sweating, which is a natural way of cleansing out toxins, and it works well in the bath with warm water because you're opening your pores, and so the ginger can enter the body at a faster pace. You can simply grind up some ginger and add a half cup of, or you can grind up maybe a piece of fresh ginger so that you have about a half cup, or you can use powdered ginger and a bit of baking soda, and just put that into your bath and sit there for maybe about 20 minutes and just allow yourself to kind of feel the effects, as long as you're not getting overheated, and just allow yourself to just take some time for yourself. So taking these moments of self-care are not selfish. They really are. They allow you to come back into where you are in your life, observe, and make the next choice, which is going to support you, your family, and anyone else who's around you. So it's really quite important, actually. Okay. So here we go into questions. Obviously, this is a recording, so I'm not going to go into questions today, but if you do have any questions, you can feel free to email me. I'm going to put my email up on the screen here. It's Christina@somayogaandwellness.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So obviously, I can't teach you how to build your ideal practice or overcome all of your stress or your fatigue in a brief 1 hour or 30-minute talk. But for those who are serious about wanting to take care of their health, I want to help you. That's why I redid this video. I really want to share these tips and these practices with as many people as possible. And here's how I can help you. I can offer you a health goals session. This is a one-on-one session with me where we will really go into depth in order to clarify what your next vision for your body and for your life is, and so that your future is bigger and brighter than your past. In this process, we'll tune into your intuition, and we'll also uncover whatever is working against this vision in your daily habits. You'll come away with 2 or 3 action steps that will get you on your way to achieving the goals that you really have set aside. I have a few spots available. I obviously can't meet with everyone, but if you're sick and tired of feeling unhealthy and not reaching your goals, and you're ready to, invest in a real breakthrough, then I invite you to reach out and schedule a health goals session. So schedule the session right away while it's fresh in your mind. It's $150 value. I am offering these for free for the moment. And it gives you a chance to see what it would be like to work with me. If I find after the session that I can help you, I'll make you an offer. That's about as salesy as I get. So it's a really deep action-oriented session. Visit www.somayogaandwellness.com and schedule a session with me. Okay, well, that's it for this free talk about holiday stress and some tips. Hopefully you found this really helpful. I would love it if you leave a comment in the chat, or you send a message and let me know if any of these helped you, or if you have any questions. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Bye.